Hi, good morning. Welcome to Shamaha. This is Gayatri. Really glad to see you guys back. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you all had a lovely Diwali and had a wonderful time with the festivities. A lot of friends, family, as well as eating. Some of you might have seen the little post that I did for Diwali, which was about stepping into your own path, and how when you sort of say your prayers and ask for prosperity, abundance, and new beginnings, to also remember to turn your lens inward and realize that all that is already there within you and just needs to be manifested. So that was like a really brief capsule that I did, and I just thought I would expand on that theme today. And so today's session is as such is about 5 ways to step into your own power. And the reason I feel that this is important to address at this time is that this is a year in which we've all felt fairly powerless. We felt really like, our choices were taken away from us, our strengths were taken away from us. We were given a very limited circumference in which to sort of move and make ends meet and socialize and do all the things that we are so accustomed to a wider world. And I think that there is essentially a lesson in that for us. I don't particularly believe that the universe does punishments, but I think that there are always learnings. And the learning from this year has been not to take our freedom for granted. And therefore, all the more now, when we are beginning to see a freeing up of our energies, possible vaccines in the future, the economies are beginning to open up again, public places are beginning to open up. It's time that to sort of step out, but when we do so, can we do so in a way that ensures we're using our faculties to the maximum, sort of not taking it for granted anymore, not our choices, not our freedoms, not our abilities, not our skills. So it's very important to sort of understand, especially in this year as it comes to a close, what stepping into one's own power means. And I think for that we have to go to what feeling powerless means to begin with. And for a lot of us this year, that has meant other people taking away our choices and our ability to perform. So the first thing to do when you need to step into your own power, the very first thing is sort of look inward and realize that all the things that we are looking for don't exist outside of us, they exist inside of us. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so let's say we're looking for opportunity, we're looking for prosperity, which is the very basic of what all of us look for, right? We're looking for an ability to show our skill, and we believe all this has to come to us. Somebody has to give us that opportunity, somebody has to give us open a window, show us the path. And all of our education, all of our training, all of our mind training is towards this end, that when somebody comes and offers you a job, you should be qualified for it. And I think a huge learning, the first learning of this year is, no, that's not how it works. That when push comes to shove and we don't have opportunities, and those opportunities are taken away from us, then we are able to make our own opportunities. When shops shut down and we don't have all the ingredients we need for recipes that are familiar to us, we find other ingredients and we make do, and we find our way, and we can still push through. And that's a huge learning. And you'll see this all around. When people lost their jobs, they turned to pickle making and puppet bag making, in small, home industries. And we've all sort of pushed through that mental block that said, when other people don't give me what I need, I won't make it. And we've come to the realization that yes, we will. We just need to think differently. We need to look for things differently. So, and that comes, and those of us who've been able to find those opportunities to move online, to change the nature of our business essentially, have been able to do that by looking within and saying, okay, here I am at this fork in the road, or a complete dead end and a wall. What do I do? Do I just sit here and collapse? Do I just sit here and break down? Or do I change? Do I adapt? Do I find it within me to find new paths where seemingly none exist? And you'll find that most of us have been able to do that. And the way to do that is to turn the lens inward and to basically see that a lot of the things that we pray for, we hope for, we wish for externally already exist within us. We just have to find the avenues by which to manifest them. So that's number one. Number two is know that the internal creates the external. Another insight that we've all received is that as we change our internal framework, as we heal, as we resolve, as we stop looking to others for our solutions, the solutions are starting to present themselves. And why is this happening? This is happening because we are able to clear up the inside, mend the broken bits, apply the salve, apply the balm, reduce our anger, our irritation, our frustration, and say, okay, you know what, that's not in my control. It's not in my control what others do, what they do not do, what opportunities I'm presented with, what I'm not presented with, what is in my control. And when we start taking charge of whatever is within our control, when our focus turns to our abundance, what I have in hand, then with that we are able to push our power and our energy into that and kickstart a process of creation and productivity. Okay, that in itself is empowering, because now I'm in control of what I have. My focus and energy is no longer on what I don't have, and because all of that extra energy is going into what I already have becomes the basis for all new growth. So it's very important to realize that as you start to focus on the internal, you are able to adapt to and change and transform the external, even that which was until now not yielding to you. The third thing is, don't confuse attractiveness with power. In our sort of path to growing, we sort of look outside for the validation, right? We look to who's praising us, who's giving us a promotion, who's giving us more money, who's telling us we're really good, who's reading our books, who's talking about it, who's recommending it, right? My work, who's my network. And therefore all of our identity is tied in with what other people tell us is progress, right? But one thing that happens when you start shifting your gaze inwards and looking to your own strengths and your own capabilities is that the outside ceases to matter. And when the outside ceases to matter, and I'm not saying, look, completely ignore people who are telling you, look, you're going the wrong way, right? If you're driving down the highway on the wrong side of the road, you need to open your eyes and look, right? They're going to be signs. But not to the extent that you peg your entire identity and self-worth on the validation of others, because sometimes, and this is a truth that we've all seen in our lives, that validation is not going to come. So you're putting in your best efforts, you're doing your best, but your boss favors somebody else, those opportunities are going to somebody else, it's just not your time. There are just so many reasons, right? So your work might be good, you may not be presenting it well. There's so many reasons why we don't get the validations that we seek. Here's the thing, when you start shifting the focus inwards and you start changing the external according to your internal abundance, according to what you have available in your hand and what is in your control, what you'll start seeing is that what you've been chasing till now is attractiveness, and attractiveness depends on the reflection from others, whereas power does not depend on a reflection from others. It's internal. So when I feel powerful, when I feel empowered, it's totally dependent on me and what I have in my control. But here's the thing, power is intrinsically attractive, whereas attractiveness is not necessarily intrinsically powerful. So, for instance, you can build up your attractiveness with money, with makeup, with fashion, with clothes, with all the trappings of what looks like success, right? So, which is why we see a lot of people who seem to be sitting in positions of power. So, they have the jobs, the designation, the salary, the money, the car, but they are sort of stuck. They can't make decisions. They're incoherent in positions of power. And as we are seeing in the national news almost on a daily basis, when those trappings are taken away or threatened to be taken away from these people, their insecurity becomes very loud and very apparent, and you see them really, really failing despite everything that they have, failing to be the people that they're capable of being. And that is because they've invested in attractiveness. They've seeming attractive to the public at large, to people at large, whereas they've not invested in their power. And what is power? Power is this quiet strength of knowing that what you need is in your hand. It's already within you. It's up to you to manifest it. And that when you do manifest it, you can change your external world. So, I just to give you an example, I'd say Trump would be the example of sort of building himself up with attractiveness, or a Rahul Gandhi, right? Where you have all the elements, all the ingredients for that perfect cake, but the cake just won't rise. The cake won't rise because you just want the cake to look good, but you don't actually know what goes in towards making a cake. So you can be the most powerful person on the planet, basically, and by that I mean the trappings of that power, and still not be empowered. Whereas you can have pretty much none of that. And an example that I'd like to give you for this is Donald Bradman, right? If those of you who watch the Bodyline series would know that there were many ways in which the bowling was extremely deceitful and unfair. And when the nick came, he still got up and walked back to the pavilion with such grace and such dignity, because he knew that it's not about those guys calling him out or not. He knew the game he was playing, right? Which is why he remains the greatest batsman in the world, even today. And because it's not really about the points on the scoreboard, it's about the kind of batsman you are, it's about the game you play, it's about the dignity with which you play it, and the dignity with which you're able to release and walk back to the pavilion when the time requires that of you. So, you can be Bradman or you can be Trump. I mean, it's in your hands, but one is attractiveness. Supposedly, I mean, I don't find him very attractive, but I suppose 70 million people who voted him into power did. What is the thing that's going to last? Because power is not dependent on the external validation. Even when that external validation is removed, you remain a class batsman. Whereas with attractiveness, when that external validation is removed, you just basically collapse. Right? So invest in power and not in attractiveness, and look for those milestones, not who's approving of you. And which leads to my fourth one, is feed what empowers you. Once you've realized where your power comes from, and that requires a bit of inner work, a bit of resolution, a bit of healing, because without that we sort of place our power in external things. We give away our power, right? So if there's somebody, like if it's a boss or a parent or a partner, and we're constantly looking for their approval, then we sort of change our actions, thoughts and words according to whether or not that approval is coming forth. And when it's not, then we go, oh my god, I must be wrong, right? But once you realize that, no, you know what, this is my path of action and this is what I have to do, whether or not somebody approves, you start looking for what feeds your power. And what are the things that feed your power? What are the things that make you able to make independent choices and stand by the results, whether or not they seem publicly good or bad or approved? And a good way to know that is what makes you feel at peace. What are the choices you make that make you like yourself better, that make you feel at peace, and that do not give you a sense of unease once you've taken them? Because they can be something that looks great on paper, but once you do it, if you're still not sort of, happy with yourself, trust your intuition, because your intuition is sort of a sum of all your cumulative thought processes and in internal training until mental training until now. So your intuition is going to give you those signs. It's going to tell you, look, I'm not uncomfortable with the action that you're taking. And so the first is, I would say, trust your intuition. See what feeds your sense of peace, your sense of joy, that makes you comfortable with yourself. And yes, sometimes we do take decisions that we're not comfortable with or that we wouldn't like to do, but we take them because we know why we need to take them. So I might take a job I don't really like because I know I have bills to pay and kids to feed, and as long as I'm comfortable with why I'm doing it, then I will be able to make the choices that I don't honestly 100% want to make. So that's what I mean by comfort. It's not that never do anything you don't want to do, but you have to be comfortable with the reasons why you're doing it, right? And we see this a lot in relationships. Sometimes we get into relationships because, say, the partner looks good on paper, they have the right job, they have the right salary, they're from the right community, they speak my language, right, the same race, but your heart's not in it. And you're doing it because you look like this perfect couple and everybody approves, but you know that that's not where your heart is. And that's what I mean by don't do things for the wrong reasons. Feed what empowers you, because you are then going to be constantly beholden to this set of reasons why you got into it. Whereas what empowers you is what puts you in a place of comfort, security, safety, self-knowledge, self-knowing, self-awareness, and that is going to heal you as you go forward. So always invest in what feeds your sense of power and not what takes away from it. And the fifth point that I would like to make is forgive. And why is forgiveness such a big tool? A lot of people tend to think of forgiveness as, why should I let that person get away with what he did and without the consequences of his actions? No, that's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness does not mean that you don't pursue a cause of justice. Let's say somebody has stolen from you, right? You still want to get, say, the money back, or want an apology, or want to set the law after that person. But forgiveness means that you don't live your life building on that pain going forward. It means that you look that person in the eye and say, I need you to pay your penalties, but I also need you to know that I forgive you, which basically means that nothing you did has a power over me. Not now, not in the future. You don't get to decide when I'm angry. You don't get to decide when I'm hurt. You don't get to decide how I will change my actions because of what you did. If I go forward choosing to trust in people still, I'm going to do that despite you, not because of you. And I'm not going to stop trusting in people because of you. Right? So you are basically liberating your actions from the chains that they have decided to put around it. In a relationship, somebody cheats on us, and therefore all our future relationships are sort of held hostage to this, because we go into them with a sense of distrust, without a sense of hope, without a sense of joy, and we carry forward that baggage. So it's extremely important to liberate ourselves from this original station of bondage, and that only comes about through forgiveness. Forgiveness is not so much about the other person, it's about releasing yourself from the grip of the other person, refusing to hold yourself hostage. So these are the 5 ways in which you can step into your power, and I hope this is a week when you'll contemplate them, you'll think about them as the energy sort of releases us from this extremely gruesome year and that we've sort of tied ourselves into. Going forward, look at the ways in which you can step into your power and make use of every moment that comes your way. Just before we go, I wanted to also sort of pull a card for you. I've been using this deck, which is the Wisdom of the Trees Oracle, because I really love trees, and I think that just by virtue of the fact that they've been on earth for so much longer than any of us, they have beautiful stories to tell us if they could speak, and I'm very glad that somebody's speaking of them for us. And I pulled a card earlier for you today, and I actually shuffled the deck and pulled it twice, and both times this card came out. And if you can see it, this is the hornbeam, right? The hornbeam is a beautiful chain. You can see some implements there on the side, and that's because the hornbeam has always been a tree of great strength. It's also known as the ironwood tree, and it is a tree that is used to create extremely strong implements, such as like the cogs in the mills in the wheels of mills were made out of hornbeam. So it's a card of extreme strength, and it's also a card that gives a lot of shelter. In fact, it used to be known as a tree that gave shelter to even hobgoblins and murderers and thieves and people who were sort of escaping the law and escaping being found out, and therefore it has a little bit of notoriety. But it's also a protective tree. It used to be planted on the edges of the sacred groves in the Alps. It's medicinal, it's soothing for the eyes. So there's a lot of symbolism coming from this tree, and that is, as the energy is released and you go forward, sort of look to your strengths, find the flow of that river inside you: abundance, prosperity, strength, insight, clarity, perspective. And when you do that, protect your own sacredness with it, right? Don't be too giving, don't give out your secrets, don't pour out your strength of the river into the streets, into every passerby. Even the river becomes mighty because it has banks, because its power is channeled towards a specific end. So be focused and flow with that sense of power, but also you have the capacity within you to take in the bad and to sort of make it make it useful, to turn it into an implement that will serve society, that will serve communities, serve your family as well as yourself. So this is a really beautiful card, the hornbeam, the ironwood tree, and I wish you this week a week of finding your own strength and stepping into your own power, and have a wonderful time exploring that within yourself. See you soon.